Have you ever felt that something inside you is changing in an inexplicable way? As if your soul is trying to tell you something, but the world around you simply can't hear? If you're here now, know that it's not by chance. Your soul guided you to this message because there is something profound happening within you, and these signs don't appear to just anyone. They are a calling, a silent warning that your journey is about to change forever. But before moving forward, you need to understand one truth. This message is not for everyone. Only those who are prepared will be able to see what is really happening. Silencing the mind and healing oneself are challenges that few face. But if you feel that there's something different, an unease that cannot be ignored, then stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to reveal can completely transform the way you see your existence. And more. It may be exactly what you need to understand the signs your soul is trying to show you. Maybe you've recently felt that nothing makes sense like it used to, as if you're living between two worlds, but can't completely fit into either of them. The people around you seem not to understand what you're going through, and no matter how much you try to explain, you feel that words are never enough. You observe the world in a different way, perceive patterns that previously went unnoticed, feel an invisible presence by your side, and at times have the strange sensation that you are here, but at the same time you are not. If this resonated with you, understand, this is not a common symptom. It is a sign, and what I'm going to reveal to you today may explain why this is happening right now. But first, I need to warn you, this journey is not for everyone. What you are about to discover can change your perception of reality and reveal truths that many choose to ignore. There are signs that indicate your soul is preparing for something grand, but few can recognize them in time. If you don't know how to interpret these messages and act upon them, you may end up ignoring the call and missing the opportunity to understand the true meaning behind what's happening to you. And at the end of this video, you will have the answer you might have sought all your life. But I need you to stay with me until then, because every detail matters. Each sign is a piece of the puzzle that forms your journey, and we will assemble it together. What does it mean to be on the brink of transition? The idea of leaving this world might sound definitive, but the truth is that existence is much vaster than most people can comprehend. For many, death represents the absolute end, but for those with a higher perception, it's merely a passage, a transition from one state of consciousness to another. Just as a butterfly sheds its caterpillar shell, there are moments in the spiritual journey when the soul reaches a level of evolution where the physical body can no longer sustain it. This transition doesn't happen randomly, much less without purpose. For the chosen, this phase manifests as an intense awakening, where everything that once seemed solid begins to lose its meaning, and a greater truth starts to reveal itself. But the question that few can understand is, how do you know if you are at this point? How do you interpret the signs indicating that your journey on this plane may be coming to a conclusion? This is what we will explore now. Vibrational change is a spiritual phenomenon that many ignore, but it is directly linked to why some souls simply cannot fit into this world anymore. Everything in the universe is energy, and each being vibrates at a certain frequency. When a soul undergoes an intense evolution process, its vibration elevates to a point where the density of matter starts to become an obstacle. It's like trying to fit a puzzle piece into a place where it no longer belongs. You may feel this through the difficulty in connecting with mundane interests, a constant sense of dislocation, and an increasing need to seek answers for something you cannot yet define. This spiritual elevation can be so strong that the physical body begins to show signs of exhaustion, as it requires specific energy to continue sustaining its existence in this dimension. Many who experience this transformation report a kind of disconnection from the world around them, as if they are here only physically, but their essence is already somewhere else. The chosen, those with a deeper connection to higher dimensions, often feel that their mission here is coming to a close. This doesn't necessarily mean that life is about to end, but that a cycle is closing, and something much greater is about to be revealed. For these people, the signs become more intense. lucid dreams that bring direct messages, encounters with people who seem to deliver answers unknowingly, and an increasingly strong intuition that there is a purpose waiting to be fulfilled. Often, this feeling is accompanied by deep isolation, not because the world rejects them, but because their vibration no longer aligns with the energy of those who have not yet awakened. This detachment can be painful, but it's part of the preparation process for a new reality, where spiritual understanding will become even broader. What few understand is that this feeling of end is not a punishment, but rather a door to something infinitely greater. Many people who have had near-death experiences report something in common: a moment of transition where they saw themselves outside their own body, yet fully aware of everything happening around them. Some describe a tunnel of light, others talk about encountering spiritual beings or feeling an indescribable peace. What these experiences reveal is that consciousness is not confined to the physical body. It merely uses it as a temporary vehicle. There are countless accounts of people who, upon returning from a near-death experience, began to see life in a completely different way, as if they had received a glimpse of what lies beyond this reality. Some of them developed heightened spiritual gifts, such as the ability to predict events or perceive subtle energies around them. This happens because once a soul touches another dimension, it is never the same again. If you have felt something similar, as if you are living between worlds, with an increasingly expanded perception of reality, then it may be a sign that your soul is going through a similar process. The connection with divine teachings becomes more evident in these moments of transition. God never leaves a chosen without answers, but he communicates in ways that are not always direct. For those on the brink of this vibrational change, spiritual signs become impossible to ignore. Verses that appear at the exact moment, words of wisdom spoken by strangers that resonate deeply, and an inner voice that becomes increasingly clear. In many sacred scriptures, we find accounts of people who went through periods of isolation and great transformation before receiving a greater revelation. This is the divine pattern. Before a great leap, there is always a period of preparation. And perhaps this is what you are experiencing now. If you feel that your connection with God is becoming more intense, if the signs around you seem to be leading you to a specific path, and if your intuition tells you that something grand is about to happen, then maybe it's because you are on the brink of a transition that few have the courage to see. And the question that remains is, are you ready to understand what comes next? The first signs. The reality around you begins to change. The first thing many chosen ones report when they are going through this spiritual transition is a sense of displacement from reality, as if everything around them is different, yet the same. You might be surrounded by the same people, in the same places, living the same routine, but something has changed internally. The world seems more distant, as if you are watching life through an invisible lens. It is a subtle perception at first, but it becomes more intense over time. Suddenly, trivial conversations seem irrelevant. Places that once brought comfort now feel strange, and there is a constant feeling that you no longer completely belong to this plane. This disconnection is not a mistake, but a sign that your soul is detaching from the limitations of matter. You might feel a slight torpor, as if you are physically present, but your consciousness is beginning to access something beyond. Many people report moments where they feel like they can cross through reality, as if they are on the verge of discovering a deep secret. If you are experiencing this, know that it is not a psychological problem or a result of fatigue. It's your vibration changing and your perception adjusting to this new frequency. Another extremely common sign of this spiritual change is the intense perception of déjà vu. You start to have the feeling that you have seen everything before, as if you are reliving an experience that has already happened at another time, or perhaps in another existence. It could be a simple dialogue, a new place that feels familiar, or even a significant event that gives the impression you already knew would happen. This phenomenon is not just a failure of the mind, but an indication that your soul is remembering something. It's as if it is accessing fragments of knowledge that have always been within you, but are now coming to the surface. Many spiritual traditions assert that déjà vu occurs when our consciousness touches parallel realities or accesses memories of past lives. If you have been experiencing this more frequently than before, it means that your soul is trying to show you something important about your journey. And this revelation might be the missing piece to understanding why you feel that something greater is about to happen. Dreams also become more vivid and loaded with clear messages, as if someone is trying to communicate directly with you. The presence of spiritual beings, guides, or even angels becomes evident, and you may start to receive guidance about your path. Many people report dreaming of intense lights, doors opening, or even beings who speak directly about events that are yet to happen. The difference between an ordinary dream and these revelatory dreams is that, upon waking, the feeling of truth persists. You feel that it was not just a creation of the mind, but a real experience in another plane. Some people wake up with entire phrases etched in their minds, as if they had received instructions about something they need to do. Others notice that their dreams start to become almost premonitory, predicting future events with impressive details. If this has been happening to you, it means your connection with higher dimensions is strengthening, and this is one of the clearest signs that your soul is preparing for a major transition. Besides dreams and altered perception of reality, there is another phenomenon that becomes impossible to ignore: powerful synchronicities. You start seeing repetitive numbers like 1111, 2222, or combinations that seem to follow you everywhere. But it's not just that. Unexplainable encounters begin to happen. People who appear in your life at the exact moment. Conversations that bring the answers you needed without even asking. Books that, coincidentally, appear and speak precisely about something you were seeking to understand. These events are not coincidences, but messages from the universe trying to guide you. Synchronicities are like small trails indicating that you are on the right path, and when you start noticing them, it means your vibration is already interacting with forces much greater than human logic can explain. Many ignore these signs, but the chosen ones know that every detail matters, because each synchronicity is a key to understanding what the next step in your journey will be. And then, there is one of the most remarkable and definitive signs of this process: the feeling of not belonging to the material world. Suddenly, material possessions no longer have the same shine for you. The pursuit of status, money, or external achievements starts to feel empty, as if all this is an illusory game that no longer interests you. It's not that you lose the will to live, but you start to realize that none of it really matters. You feel a deep need for something more, something that cannot be bought or measured by the common standards of the world. Many people start to seek silence, nature, introspection. Others begin to feel an uncontrollable desire to understand more about the spiritual world. If you feel that you are disconnecting from things that once seemed essential, know that this is one of the strongest indications that your soul is preparing for something much greater. This detachment is not a coincidence, but a realignment with the truth that has always existed within you. And now, the big question: if all these signs are appearing, what comes next? There is an even deeper change happening, and I will reveal what it really means when your body begins to react to this transformation. If you have felt inexplicable chills, sudden waves of heat, or fatigue that has no logical explanation, pay attention, because this might be the final warning that your journey in this reality is about to change completely. The second sign: the body begins to send clear messages. When your soul is undergoing a transition, the first to feel the impacts of this change is your own body. And the most evident sign of this is extreme and inexplicable fatigue. You can sleep for hours and still wake up exhausted, as if you haven't rested at all. For many, this fatigue is not just physical but also mental and emotional, as if carrying one's own existence is becoming too heavy. At the same time, sleep becomes completely irregular. Some nights you may sleep deeply and feel like you travel to another reality, while on others it seems like something is keeping you awake, as if your mind is being prepared for something greater. Changes in weight are also common. Some people lose weight rapidly, as if the body is trying to become lighter, while others gain weight unexpectedly, as if they are storing energy for something that is to come. These changes are not caused solely by physical factors, but by the vibrational adjustment that occurs when your soul begins to detach from the density of this world and align with a higher reality. Another striking physical symptom in this process is inexplicable fluctuations in body temperature. Suddenly, you feel an intense wave of heat running through your body, as if you are being taken over by an energy coming from within. This heat is not physical but spiritual. It is the increase in your vibration activating dormant parts of your being. At other times, the opposite happens. A sudden cold, an intense shiver that runs down your spine without explanation. This generally occurs when there is a spiritual presence around you, or when your soul is moving to a subtler level of existence. Many people describe these temperature changes as moments when they feel that something is about to happen, as if a portal is opening within them. If you have experienced this, know that your body is trying to show you that your reality is transforming, and ignoring these signs may mean missing the opportunity to understand a greater truth. As this transition intensifies, the sensation of lightness or detachment from the body becomes even more evident. You might feel as if you are floating while walking, or as if your consciousness is slightly separated from your physical body. This experience can be strange at first, but it is a clear sign that your soul is preparing for something greater. Some people describe moments when they look at their own hands and feel as if they are not theirs, or moments when their perception of space and time changes, as if the world is moving at a different speed. These signs indicate that your connection with matter is weakening because your vibration is no longer fully anchored in this dimension. This is a phenomenon often reported by monks, mystics, and people who have had deep spiritual experiences. It is as if the physical body becomes just a distant reflection of the true existence of the soul. And if you have been feeling this lately, it means your energy is already aligning with something beyond mundane understanding. Along with this change, there is also an intensification of the senses. You start to hear sounds that no one else hears, sometimes a ringing in the ears, as if you are tuning into a new frequency, other times voices, whispers, or music that appears out of nowhere. Your vision may also become sharper, catching subtle movements, lights flashing in the corners of your eyes, or even shadows that seem to be there for a brief moment. This is not imagination, but your spiritual perception expanding. Many people begin to see patterns in nature, feel the energy of others without them saying anything, or even anticipate events before they happen. Your connection with intuition becomes stronger, and you start to perceive hidden messages in everyday situations. This sensory awakening happens because, as your vibration changes, you begin to access subtle dimensions that have always been there but were previously imperceptible. And when this happens, it means you are getting closer to understanding something that most people will never see. Finally, an almost inevitable change occurs: the transformation in appetite. Suddenly, heavy foods seem to make you uncomfortable, and you feel an increasing need to seek lighter, more natural foods, almost as if your body is demanding more purity. This happens because your soul knows it needs to prepare for something greater. Diet has always played a fundamental role in spirituality. Great spiritual masters, before reaching elevated levels of consciousness, went through radical changes in their diet, whether through fasting or seeking foods that favor the body's vibration. If you feel that processed foods, heavy meats, or industrialized foods no longer satisfy you as they once did, this is a clear sign that your vibration is changing. Your body is purifying itself because your soul is preparing for a great awakening. This doesn't mean you should forcefully change your diet, but rather listen to the signals your body is sending. And if this change is happening to you now, then the question is, where is your soul leading you? The signs are becoming clearer, and now the big question is, what happens when your connection with the people around you begins to dissolve? Social withdrawal, the feeling that no one understands you anymore, and unexpected isolation are signs that may seem painful but hide a truth that few are prepared to hear. The fourth sign: time and matter no longer function as before. The first thing you may start to notice in this phase of transition is a strange perception of time. You feel that days are passing too quickly, as if the hours are slipping through your fingers, or, on the contrary, you notice that certain moments seem to drag on, creating an inexplicable feeling of stagnation. This happens because, as your soul gradually disconnects from the material world, your relationship with linear time begins to dissolve. Time, in the physical plane, is a construct that the human mind uses to organize reality, but for the soul, it is just an illusion. When you start to feel that time is out of sync, it is because your consciousness is already experiencing the fluidity of existence on a higher level. Many chosen ones report moments of time gaps, where they feel that something important happened, but they cannot remember exactly what. Others notice that certain events that should take years to unfold happen quickly, while other situations that seemed simple drag on without explanation. If you feel that your relationship with time is no longer the same, this may be one of the signs that your soul is preparing for a greater transition. Another phenomenon that many start to notice at this stage are objects that seem to move without explanation. You place something in one spot, and when you return, it is no longer there. Small belongings disappear and reappear in unexpected places, or seem to change position on their own. Some people report lights flickering for no reason, doors closing softly even without wind, or feeling the presence of something invisible around them. This happens because, by raising your vibration, you begin to interact with dimensions that were previously imperceptible. These manifestations can be subtle or intense, but they all carry a meaning. You are becoming more sensitive to the energies around you. Many believe that these phenomena are a sign that spiritual guides are nearby, trying to draw your attention to something important. If you have experienced this, instead of fearing it, observe and ask yourself, what is my soul trying to show me? Along with this, your telepathy and intuition start to become much sharper. You notice that you know what someone is going to say before they even speak. You feel emotions that are not yours, and sometimes you even hear thoughts that seem to come from outside. This ability is not a coincidence, but a sign that your mind is tuning into a higher frequency, capturing information that previously went unnoticed. This sensitivity makes you start avoiding certain environments or people, as you feel their intentions before even exchanging words with them. It could be that when you think of someone, that person contacts you shortly after, or you have premonitions that come true with precision. The increase in intuition is an indication that your soul is already operating on a more expanded level of consciousness, where time and the separation between thoughts and reality become more fluid. If your intuition has never been as strong as it is now, know that you are more connected to the spiritual plane than you realize. And then, the visions and premonitions begin. Dreams that once seemed like mere fragments now carry clear messages and direct revelations. You dream of things that end up happening, see symbols that reappear repeatedly in your life, and feel as if you are living between two worlds at the same time. It is as if your conscious mind is here, but another part of you is already accessing a higher plane. Many people report that, in these moments, they have dream encounters with spiritual guides, deceased relatives, or beings that seem to bring important teachings. These experiences are not mere creations of the mind, but signs that your soul is in transit between dimensions. If you have started to notice that your dreams are loaded with profound messages, or that you have an inexplicable feeling that something is about to happen, this may be one of the last warnings that your journey is reaching a crucial turning point. And then come the signs of farewell. Small events begin to suggest that a major change is approaching. You may start to find things from your past unexpectedly. Old photos, letters, objects that seemed lost for years. People who were part of your life may suddenly reappear, as if they are closing cycles. And perhaps the strongest of all signs, an inexplicable peace begins to take hold of you. Even if you still do not fully understand what is happening, there is a deep feeling of acceptance, as if something inside you already knows what is coming. These farewell signs should not be feared, but understood as a calling. They are a warning that your soul is preparing for a new phase, a new level of consciousness, a new purpose. We have reached the great moment of this journey. Everything you have felt up to this point, all the changes, all the signs your soul has perceived, were preparing you for this final revelation. What I am about to share now can completely transform your understanding of what is happening to you. If you have come this far, know that it is not by chance. There is something that needs to be said, something your soul already feels, but that now will be put into words. Pay attention, because this is the moment when everything begins to make sense. When your soul reaches this stage of transition, encounters with spiritual beings become inevitable. You may start to feel presences around you, even when you're alone. You might see shadows, flickering lights, or have the sensation that someone is watching you, but without feeling fear. This presence is different from any other you have experienced before. It conveys peace, protection, and a deep sense of belonging. Spiritual guides, angels, or elevated entities approach at this moment because they know you are ready to understand your mission more clearly. Many people report experiences where they hear soft voices calling their names when no one is around, or feel gentle touches that convey comfort. These encounters are signs that you are not alone. Your soul is being guided by forces that have always been by your side, but now they have decided to manifest more clearly. If you notice these signs, it is because you are closer to your true purpose than you imagine. And then, in the deep silence of your soul, direct messages from God begin to arrive. They can come in unexpected ways. A thought that arises out of nowhere, a phrase someone says at the exact moment, a passage from a book that seems to have been written specifically for you. It could be a dream where you receive clear instructions, or an intense feeling that you need to make a specific decision. God speaks in many ways, and when you are in a state of transition, His words become impossible to ignore. Some people report a calling so intense that they feel a shiver running through their body, or even shed tears without understanding why. If you feel that you are being guided to something greater, do not ignore this calling. It is showing you a path that was laid out for you long before your arrival in this world. This is the moment to listen carefully, because the answers you have always sought are being given now. The result of this deep connection is an inexplicable state of peace. Amidst all the changes, challenges, withdrawals, and intense experiences, a certainty begins to emerge within you. You do not need to fear. There is a greater purpose behind all of this, and deep in your heart, you feel it. Even if the world around you seems turbulent, within you there is a silence, an unshakable confidence that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. This peace does not come from the outside, but from your soul, which has finally understood that it is on the right path. You realize that there is no longer any need to fight against the changes, because you now understand that they are part of the journey. And this is the greatest revelation of all. The transition you are experiencing is not an end, but a new beginning. And then, the inevitable question arises. Does this moment really mean the end? Or is a new phase about to begin? Many people, upon realizing all these signs, fear that it indicates their journey in this world is ending. But the truth is that this type of transition does not always mean physical departure. For some, it means a rebirth in life, a complete change of consciousness, a detachment from the illusions of the world to finally fulfill the purpose for which they came. For others, it may indeed be preparation for a new stage of existence, where their mission here is completed to continue at a higher level. But regardless of what this calling means for you, one thing is certain. You will not be the same after this experience. You are being invited to choose between continuing to live as before, ignoring the signs, or accepting this transformation and discovering what is truly reserved for you. And this choice, in the end, will always be yours. Now, you may be wondering, what to do with all this? How to understand these signs and prepare for the next step? The first thing you need to know is that you are not alone. Many people go through this transition, but few talk about it because not everyone can understand the depth of this experience. If you are feeling these signs, it is because your soul is already guiding you on the right path. The next step is to strengthen this connection. Seek silence, listen to your intuition, write down your dreams and perceptions. Avoid resisting the changes. The more you accept, the clearer your purpose will become. Look for signs around you and trust them. God always places answers in your path, but it is up to you to recognize them. And above all, know that this journey is not by chance. You were chosen for this. When your soul reaches this stage of transition, encounters with spiritual beings become inevitable. You may start to feel presences around you, even when you're alone. You might see shadows, flickering lights, or have the sensation that someone is watching you, but without feeling fear. This presence is different from any other you have experienced before. It conveys peace, protection, and a deep sense of belonging. Spiritual guides, angels, or elevated entities approach at this moment because they know you are ready to understand your mission more clearly. Many people report experiences where they hear soft voices calling their names when no one is around, or feel gentle touches that convey comfort. These encounters are signs that you are not alone. Your soul is being guided by forces that have always been by your side, but now they have decided to manifest more clearly. If you notice these signs, it is because you are closer to your true purpose than you imagine. And then, in the deep silence of your soul, direct messages from God begin to arrive. They can come in unexpected ways. A thought that arises out of nowhere, a phrase someone says at the exact moment, a passage from a book that seems to have been written specifically for you. It could be a dream where you receive clear instructions, or an intense feeling that you need to make a specific decision. God speaks in many ways, and when you are in a state of transition, His words become impossible to ignore. Some people report a calling so intense that they feel a shiver running through their body, or even shed tears without understanding why. If you feel that you are being guided to something greater, do not ignore this calling. It is showing you a path that was laid out for you long before your arrival in this world. This is the moment to listen carefully, because the answers you have always sought are being given now. The result of this deep connection is an inexplicable state of peace. Amidst all the changes, challenges, withdrawals, and intense experiences, a certainty begins to emerge within you. You do not need to fear. There is a greater purpose behind all of this, and deep in your heart, you feel it. Even if the world around you seems turbulent, within you there is a silence, an unshakable confidence that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. This peace does not come from the outside, but from your soul, which has finally understood that it is on the right path. You realize that there is no longer any need to fight against the changes, because you now understand that they are part of the journey. And this is the greatest revelation of all. The transition you are experiencing is not an end, but a new beginning. And then, the inevitable question arises. Does this moment really mean the end? Or is a new phase about to begin? Many people, upon realizing all these signs, fear that it indicates their journey in this world is ending. But the truth is that this type of transition does not always mean physical departure. For some, it means a rebirth in life, a complete change of consciousness, a detachment from the illusions of the world to finally fulfill the purpose for which they came. For others, it may indeed be preparation for a new stage of existence, where their mission here is completed to continue at a higher level. But regardless of what this calling means for you, one thing is certain. You will not be the same after this experience. You are being invited to choose between continuing to live as before, ignoring the signs, or accepting this transformation and discovering what is truly reserved for you. And this choice, in the end, will always be yours. Now, you may be wondering, what to do with all this? How to understand these signs and prepare for the next step? The first thing you need to know is that you are not alone. Many people go through this transition, but few talk about it because not everyone can understand the depth of this experience. If you are feeling these signs, it is because your soul is already guiding you on the right path. The next step is to strengthen this connection. Seek silence, listen to your intuition, write down your dreams and perceptions. Avoid resisting the changes. The more you accept, the clearer your purpose will become. Look for signs around you and trust them. God always places answers in your path, but it is up to you to recognize them. And above all, know that this journey is not by chance. You were chosen for this.